In order to help her cubs survive, a mother spectacled bear remained trapped on a 100-meter-high cliff for nearly 100 days. During this time, she could neither move freely nor find food. She survived only on the fat stored in her body while nursing her growing cubs. As the cubs became bigger, they needed more milk. But the mother gradually reached the limit of her strength. Eventually, her milk dried up, and staying on the cliff meant certain death. She had no choice but to lead her cubs down the dangerous mountain in search of food. The descent was extremely risky. The narrow cliff had almost no proper path, only slippery rocks covered with moss. One wrong step could send them falling to their deaths. The mother moved carefully, stopping every few steps to make sure both cubs were following safely. Although she had climbed this cliff many times before, it was the cubs' first experience. Their claws were still weak, and they lacked balance. After climbing a steep section, the mother stopped to let the exhausted cubs rest. They could not stay long because they needed to reach the bottom before nightfall. Soon after continuing, one frightened cub took the wrong route and disappeared from the mother's sight. Alone on the cliff, the tiny cub had no choice but to keep climbing down step by step. Hours later, the mother safely reached the bottom with one cub. She searched desperately for the missing cub, but could not find it. Just as she began to lose hope, the lost cub appeared from another side of the mountain. Against all odds, it had survived the dangerous journey. The hardest part was over, but the family still faced another challenge. The mother could no longer produce milk, so they urgently needed food. Guided by memory, she led the cubs to a fruit tree she visited every year. The tree was full of ripe fruit, which makes up nearly 90% of a spectacled bear's diet. The hungry cubs eagerly began eating, and the exhaustion of the day quickly disappeared. One day, when they grow up, they may return to the same cliff with cubs of their own. Far away on the steep cliffs of Greenland, another family faced a similar test of survival. The young birds had been alive for only 3 days. They could barely walk, yet they were about to jump from a cliff more than 400 meters high. At this moment, their fate was no longer in their own control. To survive, they had to reach the ground alive. Their parents built the nest high on the cliff to protect the chicks from predators. While the height kept most enemies away, it also created a dangerous problem. There was no food on the cliff. The parents could not feed the chicks forever, and the nearest feeding grounds were about 1.5 kilometers away. The only way for the chicks to survive was to leap from the cliff. The father bird flew down first, followed by the mother. Standing below, they called loudly to encourage their chicks. Fear filled the first chick, but instinct was stronger. Slowly, it stepped to the edge, gathered all its courage, and jumped. As it fell, the wind rushed past its tiny body. It could not fly yet, so it kept its belly facing downward, the thick layer of fat beneath. Its body acted as a natural cushion each time it struck the rocks. After several painful impacts, it finally reached the ground alive. However, danger was not over. A hungry crow had been waiting nearby for exactly this moment. It swooped down toward the helpless chick. The father bird rushed in, trying to shield his baby with his own body. But the crow was faster and more agile. Despite the father's desperate efforts, the crow seized the chick and carried it away. The parents could only watch, helplessly as their first offspring became the predator's meal. The second chick had no idea what had happened below. It only heard its father's desperate calls and felt fear growing inside. Even so, it knew there was no other choice. Gathering all its courage, it jumped from the cliff. During the fall, the chick struck several rocks, causing it to lose its balance. Unable to keep its belly facing downward, it could not soften the impact. Blow after blow, its small body hit the cliff until its young life came to a tragic end. Now only the last chick remained on the cliff. Seeing the fate of its siblings could have stopped it, but survival demanded courage. It stepped to the edge and leaped into the unknown. As it fell, it spread its tiny wings as wide as possible to maintain balance. It still hit the rocks, but unlike the second chick, it did not panic. Enduring the pain, it kept adjusting its position so its belly absorbed each impact. Suddenly, one of its feet became trapped in a crack in the rock. Hanging helplessly, it could no longer continue falling. The father immediately flew over and used the force of his wings to free the trapped foot. Once released, the chick continued its descent until it landed safely on a snowy slope. It slid down the mountain like a rolling stone. The mother rushed after it, trying to stop its slide with her own body. But the icy surface made it impossible to control her movement. Fortunately, a large rock blocked the chick's path, bringing it to a safe stop. Although a crow still circled overhead, both parents stood protectively around their surviving chick and safely guided it to the river, where food was plentiful. Fear is the instinct of every creature, but courage is what allows life to continue. Nature does not reward luck or pity the weak. It strengthens those who fight with everything they have, giving themselves and their young a chance to survive.